Hello, my name is Jeff Sharp, and I'd like to tell you a story about when I worked at Kalisas restaurant on Cannery Row in 1960 through 1963. Uh, Kalisa Moore was a large, eccentric, but warm woman who was a World War II refugee and had married an American GI in Germany and had come sometime in the 50s to Monterey, California. Having grown up in a large hotel in Eastern Europe, which her father owned, she wanted to start a restaurant, which she did at the south end of Cannery Row around or about 1959. The building that this was in was a former bordello, and it was next to Lee Chong's Chinese market, which had been there for a very long time, and I think it's still there today. Kalisa called her restaurant at one time Kalisa's Cosmopolitan Gourmet Restaurant, which had a rather eclectic menu with a bohemian flair and various chefs of different degrees of capability and sobriety. Now, I myself, around that time, 1960, graduated from Pacific Grove High School, where I lived nearby in Pacific Grove. The old timers used to say, Carmel by the sea, Monterey by the smell, and Pacific Grove by God. Anyway, having recently graduated and wanting to attend the local junior college, I needed to get a job, and I also was in search of some worldly experience. And I thought I could get that at Kalisas, about which I had heard from some friends who had also worked there. So Kalisa was very generous, and I was very excited to get a job there, where I actually did just about everything. I was not only the host, but the waiter, I was the busboy, I was the dishwasher, and on those occasions when people would order wine, I would become the sommelier, and I would put a little silver cup on a chain around my neck and go up and taste the wine. Because I would do this same role all in the same evening, this tended to confuse some of the designers, some of the clients who came. Now, at one time, however, comedians from the Second City had come, and they recognized me by my prominent, sharp rear end. And as I would pass by their table, they would cry, butt out, ha ha ha. It took me a little while to find out that I was the butt of their humor. Now, one night, late at night, around 11 o'clock, we heard a loud crash coming from the kitchen, and the whole rack of dirty dishes had come tumbling down with resulting mess. And Kalisa came out and she said, well, you know, that's too bad, but we can clean it up in the morning, and let's go down to the beach and have a party. And at that time, Kalisa not only had a chef of interesting character, but she also would take on various musicians and dancers and guitarists and artists and offer them room and board and a small salary in exchange for their services, their performance. So I think a chef and a couple of musicians and a couple of artists and a belly dancer, and I went down to the beach and had an all-night party. So in that manner, I spent the next 3 years working my way through junior college and also gaining some worldly experience at a time when, at that time, the beatniks were evolving into what later became flower children. The country was at an unsettled time. It was just pre-Vietnam. And it was a time of change for not only the country, but for me as well. Now, for my next story, I want to tell you about a sad-faced little man of middle age who came riding into town on his bicycle. Pierre, he said he was a French folk singer who was riding his bicycle around the world. He had heard about Kalisas through the grapevine and wanted to perform there in exchange for room and board. And naturally, Kalisa, being very warm-hearted, accommodated him. So he is the subject of my next story, and still stay tuned and Until then, thanks for listening. So on.